set?
I will be set in a stack,
Okay.
I just need to make a critique sheet too. Usually I make them in advance, but like I said, I thought I would experiment because I get bored, and then this is what happens. All right. Okay.
Yes.
I am good to go.
All right. I'm Camden Lee. All right. $265 million. Just let that sink in and think about that. Think of all the things that you could do with that much money. Buy like 80 Bugattis, several Boeing jet planes. You buy several yachts and private jets, maybe an island. Well, in fact, $265 million will buy you one professional soccer player named Neymar Jr. This is just silly money that none of us would even know what to do with this much money. And so, for 5 years, I've been an avid soccer fan, and I've just seen these soccer transfers just go crazy out of proportion. And so I just decided to do some research and find out how these transfers work and why they've become like this. So, in these brief minutes I have, I'm going to try and describe how this happens. So, first off, in a transfer, you have to know when and why a transfer happens in soccer. So, to first understand, soccer transfers are the way a player moves from one club to the other. And this is typically done by money. Now, that's only clubs that have a lot of money. If you're in a lower division, sometimes it can become more of a bartering system. In that sort of sense, an example would be a guy named Gary Pallister, who was transferred for a couple soccer balls, a net, and a kit. It's much different from $265 million. Now, next up is a contract. Every player has a contract in soccer. And so at the end of that contract, they can sign another contract to keep playing with that team, or sign for another club for free. But if they want to leave before the contract is up, the club buying them has to compensate the other team for for ending the contract too short. And so there's only certain times in the year when you can actually buy a player in soccer. That would be in the summer from July 31st to August 1st, or in the winter from January 1st to January 31st. And since 2002, that's been the only time you've been able to buy a player. Now, you can actually buy players outside those times, but they cannot go to the team outside those windows. So now you have an idea of when and why a soccer player moves. It's time to get down to how it actually happens. And so in soccer, it has to be from one club to another. It can't be from club talking to a player trying to convince them to get there, even though that's the reality of how it is. You're not supposed to do that, but most clubs do directly talk to the players first. So first off, what happens is a club realizes that they have a need, that they are missing a player that they could acquire. Second step is that they scout a player and find out who they need. The third step is that they send a formal written offer to that club, and whether they're willing to sell, if they can buy, how much it'll cost. And if you get past that stage, then you get down to the player and his agent talking to the team, the new team, and finding out a new contract. And after that's done, they proceed to a medical and a work permit. And so you might be wondering, 265 million. How has it gotten to that astronomical of a fee? I mean, it's pretty crazy. Just around 2000, the world record fee was around 70 million, and it's already gone up to 265 million. And so there are several different reasons that will decide a player's price. One is how much money the buying club has. Two, how much money the selling club has. This matters because if the buying club has loads of money, then the selling clubs know that they can rack up the money of how much they'll pay. And if the selling club has a ton of money, then you know they don't really need money, they just need that player. And so in the modern day, you have lots of rich billionaires buying out clubs, so there's a lot of money in soccer, and some are actually owned by countries. It's actually a thing. Another reason is contracts. If you have like 5 years left on a contract, you're going to cost a lot more versus 1 year in a contract. Because once your contract is up, then you get to leave for free. Another thing is age. In soccer, once you hit your early 30s, that's when you're kind of going downhill usually. So if you buy a player around that age, that means they don't cost as much. And if you buy someone under 20, they're not quite at their peak yet, so they will cost less. But if you buy someone between like 23, 28, they're going to cost a lot. And the guy who I talked about recently, who went for a lot, was about 25 when he sold for $265 million. So, kind of in general, just remember, after hearing when and why a soccer transfer happens, I hope you kind of a better understanding of why it happens, when it happens, and what can cause it to be that much. And one thing I want you to remember is that these giant European super clubs have enough money to vaccinate like 13 million children with that much money, or buy 17 million acres on the moon, or even buy the debt of a small country like Haiti. So